Welcome back to the Vera House podcast. Welcome back, Myke. It's been a while.
I know, it has.
Yeah. We get into some really fun topics today. We've had quite a little bit of time to observe our community as it were, and we always find just the most crazy things to talk about. Just the other day, someone sideswiped a car outside of the studio, and it just reminded us of the inherent and ongoing traffic and automobile issues that we have in the city. So we talked about that. We talked about, and speaking of cars, we talked about a 40 car break-in that happened in Henrico. 40 cars are broken into in one night, which is just absolutely insane. And then we talked about some history around old buildings, old landmarks, locations that have been sitting decrepit for a long time, and maybe the not so savvy way that some developers are reinventing those spaces and how we feel about them. What else we talk about?
We talked about how Richmond is officially the city of darkness.
I don't know what that means, but
I kind of love it. I mean, you know, you got to tune in to find out what it means. It's not good. It's not good, but at least it sounds cool.
It does.
It sounds very cool. We also talked about my dream of owning a go-kart.
Yeah.
And you may have seen a little Mario Kart character zipping around the city in a go-kart. So we talked about that. And we also talked about our new merchandise line. So for anybody who doesn't know, we have merch.
We have swag.
And I know that sounds typical. I know that sounds cliche of like, we have merch. But the truth is, Perri and I, we made these for ourselves, truly. But if you would like to have one, if you would like to support the show, you can get these directly on our Instagram or at verahouse.co. We hope you enjoy the episode. So I love that Richmond is growing, but at the same time, that means more and more people. And that means more and more people on the road, more and more people with a steering wheel in one hand and a phone in the other hand.
Yeah.
And it's getting wild, dude. It's the wild, wild west out there.
That drives me nuts.
Yeah.
Now, I will fully admit, big fan of a one hand and a phone. I do like, trying to get my messages going or check the Instagram, but I try to not do that as often. I'll put my phone down, I'll put the playlist on, and I'll let it do its thing or put it in the stand, and then I'll just, go about my driving. And the other thing that I notice is it's more frequent than you think. Now, I ride motorcycles. So as a motorcycle rider, I'm always paying attention to what other people are doing, because that's how you avoid getting into an accident. You can be the best rider on the planet, but if somebody isn't paying attention to you, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
So you have to be paying attention to them.
Yeah.
So I'm always looking in somebody's window and looking at them. Literally sit at a stoplight, look at the phone, see the green, the light turns green, they put their foot on the gas and immediately look down at the phone. It's like you're not even driving the car anymore. Instagram is driving the car.
Yeah, that's crazy, dude. That's crazy. Yeah. And are you checking Instagram on the motorcycle too?
When I can, I bring my extra hand so I can do that.
Yeah. Well, I can't be doing this podcast solo, dude. So cut it out.
I'll keep it safe. I promise.
I got hit by a drunk driver on a motorcycle. My uncle died in a motorcycle accident, hit by somebody else. Yeah. You just never know, dude. You never know.
Yeah. You got to stay safe out there.
Yeah.
But
no doom scrolling while driving.
Don't doom scroll. If you have to doom scroll, do it at the 7-Eleven parking lot like everybody else.
Yeah. On the way here, I guess it's kiddie baseball season. So it's like
Pee-wee baseball.
Yeah, Pee-wee baseball. Yeah. So it's like, everybody's driving around like crazy, trying to find parking, rubbernecking, looking for spots, trying to learn how to parallel park because they have no idea how to do it. By the way, we definitely still need to do the parallel parking championships.
Yes. If you want us to do a parallel parking championship where we will moderate publicly over a loudspeaker and comment on you as the contestants trying to park in a parking space, let us know in the comments. We will absolutely do this.
It'd be sweet. Yeah. We'll basically be like We'll be like Joe Rogan and Daniel Cormier, for anybody who gets that reference, right? Like the UFC commentators.
Right.
So we'll have a commentator desk and we'll have our microphones and we'll commentate on the parallel parking championship.
Yep.
Dude, we'll have a podium.
Yep.
Oh, man.
You will be crowned the parallel parking championship of the entire city of Richmond. That the crown will allot you all kinds of privileges, including, but not limited to, first dibs on parking spaces.
We got to do it.
Yeah.
How about that guy in the Porsche that just decided to like slam into all the cars right out front of the studio? Speaking
of parking, this person, we're literally pulling up to the studio last week to do some work here. And I'm inside. I think you're outside, but I heard just like the crunch of car on car, which is in the city, it's unmistakable.
Yeah.
And I know that there was a time where, people would hear like the screeching of tires and then wait for the smash and then like see if there was an accident. Obviously, hopefully nobody gets hurt. But yeah, it was like 6 o'clock in the evening and this Porsche SUV was coming down our street and completely sideswiped a parked car. Not somebody in the lane that they were in, just the car was already parked, had been parked, person wasn't even in it, sideswiped the car. And then I walked outside because I heard it. And I see the Porsche at the intersection, and they like stop at the stop sign, look back for a second, and then they keep driving. And there was like some runners that stopped. There are people that came out of their apartments to see what happened. There were people walking from the opposite direction. There was 2 cars behind the Porsche. So there were like 10 people that saw it. There's no getting away. And he inevitably pulled up at the next stop sign. The cops showed up. The lady came out. It was a whole thing.
So that's like the opposite, right? You were talking like you hear the screech and you're waiting for the crash. This is like you hear the crash first and then they screech because they're taking off. It's like a hit and run.
It was almost a hit and run, which is unfortunately that's city living. Like you kind of deal with that as a risk. Like I remember, especially when I was working nights at the bars in the Fan, I would work a Friday or a Saturday and then Sunday I'd be going back to work for whatever reason or going back through the Fan, and I would see like 5 or 6 just smashed up bumpers anywhere in the Fan, then like Monument Avenue, in the Fan, and on Boulevard especially. And it's just somebody drunk, hit and run. That person's car is totaled. There's no one that's going to be held accountable. They're just up the creek.
Yeah.
And
that was like worse than a sideswipe, right? Like it was a little like, he friggin' smashed into that thing.
Yeah.
And we felt so bad for the girl. She's like, I just re-upped my insurance. I just put brand new tires on. Like, it wasn't just a sideswipe because he hit that rear quarter panel so bad, like so hard that it popped the rear tire.
Oh,
I mean, the whole car was like smashed in. Like, that thing's hands down totaled.
Easily. Yeah, man. And it's just, again, it's an unfortunate but real part of living in any city, not just here, but any city. You park on the street, the roads are narrow, there's people driving back and forth all across town. And not to say that everyone that commits a hit and run was inebriated or drinking or under any sort of influence. Like, we don't know what happened with that guy. We don't have the final report. We assumed that if you hit a parked car, you were either playing with your phone or you were drunk. Like those are really the 2 main, like, how did you not see it? It is the size of your car. You're in one. Like, how did you not see that? That you're supposed to be paying attention. And if you weren't, those are usually the reasons.
Did you see that video of the guy who drove his pickup truck like through the bus stop into like the government building on East Broad Street?
I did not.
So, I don't even really know the whole story behind that, but where's it at? This guy, he had a pickup truck and like, it's like the craziest sight you could ever see. It's like this guy who drove like through the bus stop where you can like sit. You know how the city built those little glass like containers where you can sit and wait for the bus stop when it's raining and stuff?
Yeah.
He like ran into one of those bus stops and like drove into the government building. His truck was like stuck there. It was crazy.
It's a way to get around the parking lot, I guess.
I guess so.
Like, hey, I was in a rush.
Well, it makes you wonder, like, how are these people doing this, man? How is this happening?
I ask myself that question all the time. And again, I'm not the expert and I'm not perfect, but I like to think that I'm a pretty good driver. I have a clean record and I haven't been in an accident in like almost 20 years. And I like to be good at driving. I enjoy my car. I want to take care of it. I want to be able to travel back and forth across town and mind my business. So I take pride in being good at driving. So I'm paying attention to certain things. I'm obeying the traffic laws. I'm ignoring the ones that are stupid, admittedly. But I know that there are people that just don't really register any of that.
Oh, yeah.
Like I've talked to plenty of people that barely even understand how their car works, much less what it's doing when they're driving. And it's like anyone can get a license.
Right.
You just have to be 18 and pass a really, really easy test. Now, I say it's easy, but I did fail it like 8 times. But that's not because I didn't know what I was doing. It's because I'm bad at tech and test.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
But that's the thing is like everyone gets a license and everyone has this ability, this leisure, this luxury, and this responsibility that some people just neglect completely or like take it for granted.
Dude, I will say you reminded me of this like Tosh.0 joke that I love. That was so funny. And he's talking about how he's like, I'm not stupid. I'm brilliant. And he's like, but when it gets to the point where we test what you know, all of a sudden you forget everything.
Oh, you're bad at taking tests?
Yeah.
That sounds like a cop-out.
Right,
Yeah.
Exactly. But it is true. People struggle with like, I mean, it's all kinds of different stuff, right? Dyslexia, memory retention, all these different things. It's like, it totally is. Cause I was never a great test taker either. And now it's weird because like I have like pretty extreme memory retention. I remember like all kinds of like random stuff, you know? And as we know, in true ADHD fashion, it's like, I don't remember it because I don't care about it and I'm not interested in it.
Yeah.
The stuff I want to remember, I remember.
Yeah. I mean, it's one of those things where now we know we have the understanding and we have the experience of like going through all of that and realizing now after the fact, like, oh, that's why I failed math because I didn't like math.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
Not because I'm not good at math. I'm all right at it. I just don't care.
Yeah.
And the stuff that I do really like and the stuff that I do really care about, I know as much as I can possibly know about it.
Yeah.
And it takes me like zero effort to learn it and retain it.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I wanted the same thing too, though, like going back to the driving thing, like sometimes you're just driving down the road and you're really wondering, it's like, dude, do these people just have zero spatial awareness?
Yes.
And I would say the answer is definitely yes, because I feel like it translates in and out of the car, because sometimes you're just walking through the mall or walking through Carytown and you'll be walking behind somebody and they just stop, like in the middle of the sidewalk where it's like you're standing in the middle of a walkway that people are walking on, like not just one person, like many people are walking here. It's like a Saturday afternoon in Carytown and it's like a group of people just blocking the whole sidewalk. And then they think, I'm just going to stop here and like talk and look. And it's like, hey, I understand, but move out of other people's way.
Yeah. It's called common courtesy. It's called spatial awareness. It's called self-awareness.
Yeah.
Look.
It's called get the F out of the left lane.
Get the F out of if you're going to stop, just pull over.
Yeah.
Just pretend you're in the car.
Yeah.
Just pull over. But speaking of accidents and speaking of traffic in the city, I found this Reddit post that was surprising in terms of what it really means when, like, inevitably when you get into an accident. And I'll read you what it says, and you'll be surprised at how this plays out. We all know that the local RVA driving milestones: surviving the Monument Avenue traffic circles without getting sideswiped, dodging people who treat the Pulse bus lanes on Broad Street like VIP parking or VIP passing lane, and merging onto I-95 when the on-ramp looks like Mario Kart track. But I had a close call near VCU yesterday that sent me down a rabbit hole. I realized there's a legal reality in Virginia that's way scarier than the potholes. Virginia is one of the only states left with a law called pure contributory negligence. Basically, if someone completely runs a red light on Cary Street and T-bones you, but their insurance adjusters are able to argue that you were even 1% at fault, maybe you were going 2 mile an hour over the speed limit and you didn't brake or you were distracted, or if they claim that you were even a little bit at fault, your insurance gets 100% denied. You get $0 and your car is ruined. It's just like, I was trying to figure out how this actually works. So I talked to some lawyers who wrote about this. Insurance companies actively weaponize this 1% rule. They'll act super friendly on a recorded phone call right after the crash just to get you to casually admit that you were in a hurry, glanced at your phone, looked at the radio, and boom, claim denied. So this is a reason that people don't get held accountable for traffic accidents like that, which probably has a long-term trickle-down effect of nonchalantness. Like, oh, it's fine. I'll be fine. I'm not worried about this. This is what happened. Who cares if I get in an accident? Insurance will cover it. But if it's not your fault, you still won't be covered. Like that, the chances of you getting into an accident and even like, and your insurance not covering your repairs is very high. And I didn't know that.
Yeah. I mean, it's like at this point, do I even need to say that I think insurance is a scam? You know, it's like, now, is it always, and can it be helpful and beneficial? Of course. But it's like, dude, they're not your friend. They don't want to pay you.
No.
You know, they want to collect your money and then, find every loophole that they can. And it's similar to the health industry. The health industry does the same thing. You know, it's like, oh, you have a stroke or something. And then they're like, oh, well, actually, based on your blood test, you had this pre-existing condition that you didn't tell us about on your policy. So like, sorry, we can't help you.
Yeah.
You know, like, oh, you smoked a cigarette that one time when you were 13, hanging out with your buddy's sister in the shower, or like hotbox in the bathroom. And like, we found out about that on your blog. And sorry, we can't cover you because you lied about smoking cigarettes. So, and it's like, yeah, dude, they have millions of dollars in AI systems to scour your social media and your LinkedIn page and everything that they possibly can to match it to your human profile and say, oh, yeah, we can't cover you. Sorry. And automotive stuff is the same way. And now with all these electric vehicles and all the dash cams and Palantir and like all, not Palantir, but you know what I mean? I start going on a crazy rant, but you get what I mean? You have all these systems now that like, it's all surveillance. Yeah. And it's like any of these companies that partner with the big insurance brokerages, they're going to find a way to say, we can't accept your claim, or like, oh, your onboard computer says that like you turned 3 degrees prior to, so we determined that you were out of the lane by, 4 inches. Therefore, like we can't cover you because you might've been at fault for this. Yeah. And that's where we're headed, dude.
It's wild. This blows my mind a little bit because for as long as I can remember, the school of thought is if someone hits you, it's their fault. No matter what the circumstances are. If like you literally didn't do anything to instigate the collision and they hit your car, their insurance covers you. Yep. Not the other way around, and not any sort of denial process. But this is not only an insurance issue, this is a state law issue, which we all know, Virginia being a very old state has old laws, just like this one, that protect the insurance companies from having to pay out people that are legitimately not at fault.
Yeah, it's not good.
It's not good.
It's not good, dude. Good. I mean, it's a big pyramid scheme.
It's all a scam.
It is. And I think if I remember correctly, insurance companies, like they don't have to publicly disclose like their P&Ls and their profit margins and stuff, because if they did, people would realize like, oh, wow, these companies have like 90+% margins. And that's because they collected billions of dollars and they pay out like a couple $100 million or whatever, know? And it's like, oh, wow, this, if you drew it out on a piece of paper, you'd be like, wow, this looks like a big pyramid scheme. Now,
I will say I've had it. Fortunately, I haven't had to deal with the insurance companies for like motor vehicle issues too many times. I've always paid for insurance for the car. I paid for insurance for my motorcycle. And the motorcycle insurance was actually the version of dealing with a claims adjuster that wasn't a nightmare. Somebody hit my bike when I wasn't around, call it a hit and run. Fortunately, there was another accident that happened that it didn't involve my bike. So there was a police officer there and they left a police report. A city bus sideswiped someone on the street. And that the cops came to deal with that. And then when the person who got hit was leaving, they hit my bike.
Oh, wow.
And the cop was like, okay, now we got to deal with this too. So I go out to my bike and it's like on its side with a police report on it, which is way better than a hit and run because then I can use that. The other person's insurance takes care of it. So I'm talking to my insurance and, you know, they're dealing with the police and blah, blah. I got all the report and everything. And the guy is super chill. And you can tell he's working from home. He's like at home. He's got the kids in the background. He's like, yeah. He's like, I ride bikes too. What kind of bike do you have? Yeah, it's a cool bike, yada, yada. I know the style. I know blah, blah, blah. He's like, all right, let me look it up. Let me see what the value is here. It's like, what year is it? How many miles? And he says, okay, I see the value. You got anything done to it? I was like, oh, you know, maybe a little, this is like, no. Do you have anything done to it? Anything extra, any mods, any of this? I'm like, yeah, you know, I got a couple of things. And I listed all of them. He's like, okay, we can use this. Increases the value. He's like, how often do you ride it? Like, I don't know, maybe here and there. He's like, no, the more you ride it, the more this affects the value of it. It's like, okay, all right, I hear what you're saying. And he was able to get me an estimate for the value of all of the parts that were broken and then some. So I was able to fix it all and then get better stuff.
Yeah.
And I was like, this is great. If insurance adjusters were just like this, no one would have a problem.
Yeah. Well, see, that's our guy. That's the mole on the inside, right?
Yeah.
He's like, I'm going to get in this system and rot it from the inside out. I'm going to take all this insurance money and give it out to my homie Perri.
Yeah. They know like the little loopholes and
Yeah.
the criteria. And they're like, well, you have to say it, but I'm going to lead you on a little bit.
Yeah.
You know, I'm going to tell you where to step and you just take that step.
Well, and that's cool because, yeah, you've got people like that are like, yo, I work for this big insurance company. I don't care. They're not some small local business. They're like, I don't care. They're like, I'm just going to talk on Zoom calls all day and try to get these people the biggest payout I can. And it's like, word, that's cool.
Yeah.
You know, but then you got these other people that are like these nerdy Reddit mods that like get a power trip from like screwing people over. You know what I mean? And like they get on there and they're
Reddit
like,
mods.
Yeah, exactly. And they're like, what do you have done to your bike? You're like, oh, well, like, yeah, I got this and this done. They're like, oh, okay.
Oh, so illegal modifications.
Right. They're like, oh, okay. So it's not OEM. It's not factory. Okay. So that might impact the safety.
So it looks like we're not going to be able to give you the full retail value. We're going to give you about 40% of full retail value.
It's like since you've since you've altered the vehicle from OEM, we can't pay out full factory. Yeah. So then there's the other side of
there's definitely that side of it.
Yeah.
It's a whole gambit. Fortunately, like I said, I haven't had to deal with it too many times. And the times that I have, it's worked out in my favor. Now, I know that's not the case for everybody, especially people who are cynical, but also like to live life by their own rules, so to speak. They kind of like live on the edge and like they just, those are the people that unfortunately usually have to like deal with insurance adjusters or deal with like lawmakers and city officials more often than not. You and I both know it's a racket.
I know. I was going to say you're kind of like describing me, but luckily I'm a reformed, law-abiding citizen, you know, and luckily I don't deal with insurance. But a couple summers ago, I did have somebody that I was on Main Street. I was driving home from getting groceries, doing the speed limit, driving normally. I'm actually pretty good. Like I really don't mess with my phone while I'm driving. And also I just got like the whole CarPlay set up in my car, which is great. So like I really don't mess with my phone. And I also only drive like 2 minutes at a time. I don't go anywhere. But I was driving home one day from Whole Foods. I'm on Main Street. I'm driving in front of, I forget what it's called now, but it was called District 5. But I was driving in front of that place and I'm in the left lane, just going 20 miles an hour or whatever. And there's a guy in the right lane, like slowing down with putting his left blinker on. And it's like, well, you don't slow down to move over on a lane, right? So I'm like, I don't know what this guy's doing. Maybe he needs to turn. And I'm like, surely he's not just going to turn in front of my truck. Well, I was wrong. And that's exactly what he did. So as I'm driving past him, he tries to make a left turn from the right lane and he drives underneath my truck. So he drives underneath my lifted FJ Cruiser and literally like a Tonka truck, I just drive over his car. Like I drove over the hood of his car and just crushed the whole front of his car. And I don't know if I totaled it, but I mean, he literally turned like underneath my car. I drive over the top of the front of his vehicle. I'm just like, whoa, like I come back down and I'm like, what the hell? And, you know, in the back of my mind, I'm like, I can't believe that guy actually did that. Like in my mind, I'm like, yeah, that's maybe what he might do, but he can't be that stupid. Nobody would do that.
Bro.
Well, he did do that. And so I pull over and I'm like, dude, this guy just like totally jacked my truck up.
Yeah.
So I put it in park. I get out and I like look at the guy and he gets out and he like looks at me like he's like confused. And I was like, what the hell was that, dude? And he's like, I had my blinker on. And I was like, you can't be serious, right? Like, are you being for real? And he's like, what? And I'm like, what are you talking about, man? I'm like, you turned underneath my truck from the, I was like, where were you turning? He was like, I was trying to pull into there. And I was like, you're in the right lane, homie. Like, what do you do? What? And anyway, so then I walk around my truck and I'm looking at it. There's not a single scratch on my truck. Like literally, I just, like a monster truck, I just drove over top of his car. His whole front of his car is crushed. His bumper's hanging off. All his headlights are broken. And then I realized he's an Uber driver. He's got like a flashing Uber driver thing. And I'm like, dude, you drive for a living. Like, what were you thinking? Like, you drive every day, man. Like, how did you do that?
Honestly, bro, you told me this story once before. It's so fucking funny. Honestly, man, Uber drivers are sometimes the worst drivers.
Yeah.
They drive every day and they drive for a living. They make money being in the car all the time. But I've been in a lot of Ubers. They're not the best drivers.
No.
Some of them are like, shouldn't even have a license to a point. And it's unfortunate to say, because like, you know, these people out here trying to make money and I get all that. But like I said earlier, I take pride in being a good driver. And I take pride in knowing what being a good driver means and like knowing what your car is capable of, knowing how big the car is, knowing where the bumpers are supposed to be, knowing how close you can get to somebody, knowing when you need to start hitting your brakes because your car is a little heavier versus when your car is a little lighter, so on and so forth. Like I like to know all that stuff. So that helps you be a better driver. Just, you know, talk about, you know, situational awareness or spatial awareness, car awareness. Like when you're in the car, you should be aware of the entire car, including the antenna on the top and the headlights at the front, all of that stuff. And there's people out here that are just like, they're not driving, they're riding in the driver's seat. They're just like foot's on the gas, like kind of ever so slightly. They're fucking with the phone and the car is like on cruise control. And they're like, I don't know what happened. I was like, you did that. The reason it happened is because you did it. It didn't do it by itself. It's not going to go and drive into the person in front of them without you in the front seat.
Yeah.
And it's just so funny how people just don't have that awareness. And it's to the point where, you know, there's obviously levels to it, right? So there's the guy that will cut across two lanes no matter what the situation is, because I have to go there. And like, this is the mindset is like, that's my turn. I'm going to miss my turn. I can't, if I don't turn here, I can't get into the parking lot. I have to go now. I was like, so that's the completely just oblivious to everything that's happening around him. And then there's the person that's like, well, I got to go that way, but yeah, I'm going to slow down and make sure that I'll wait for these people to go, but I'm going to block all the traffic behind me because I have to make this turn right here, right now. The world is over if I can't take this left turn. And there's just I have a laundry list of pet peeves of people that do dumb shit in the car that I'm observing all of it. And I have like a catalog of it. People that leave their blinker on after they've taken the turn, or don't mean to take that turn and they leave it on anyway, or turn the other way, turn the opposite direction of their blinker. Drives me bananas.
Yeah. People
that drive too slow. They don't drive the speed limit. They're driving under the speed limit. And they're just like, you know, my dad used to call it rubbernecking. They're just like, you know, I was looking around like, oh yeah, what's this? This is a cool looking palm tree or whatever the hell. Then there's the people that are like, you know, speed diving through the things. Like, that's kind of fine as long as you don't hit anybody. Because I used to do that.
Sure. Yeah.
But bro, we should host it like in the spirit of education. Vera House is going to be expanding our resources and our community engagement to include education in 2026. And I think we should do a class in tandem with our parking championship.
Yeah. Vera House driving school.
Yeah. Yeah. Yes. 100%. And it's not DMV accredited. It is only about how to drive in Richmond.
Yeah. Thankfully, no crazy Richmond drivers ran over the Mario Kart go-kart guy.
Yeah, I saw that guy.
Like, I'm quite jealous because have you ever seen those 9-bot Segway go-karts? They're like electric go-karts.
Yeah, I think.
Okay, there's also this brand on Instagram called Go-Kart God, and it's like an e-kart.
Yeah.
And it is so fast.
Yeah.
Like so fast. And I think like probably at least 11 times a day, I think about I should probably quit my job and just buy a go-kart. So to see some guy zipping around on a go-kart, living my dream is just depressing for me, man.
Gotta
it looks
get you a
so
cart.
fun.
Yeah, man. And
I
he was
don't
like
know
on the sidewalk and everything too.
Yeah, I think I heard that he was like maybe a journalist or a reporter for RVA Mag. And I don't know the story behind it, but yeah, he was dressed up as Mario and just zipping a go-kart around the city. And I was so jealous. I'm like, that is all I want to do.
Yeah.
Guy is out there just living my dream.
I mean, there's nothing stopping you now. Like, you can get away with it because it was one of those things where it's like, can I actually do this without getting arrested?
I know.
Probably.
Yeah. Well, the go-kart that I want, dude, it's so fast.
Yeah.
It's so fast. But yeah, he was definitely driving around on the sidewalk, but he's just zipping it down the street, And yeah, the first comment on here says, that dude better be careful considering how Richmonders drive nowadays. He'll end up as a flattened banana. Game over.
Flattened banana. Oh, I love that. Yeah, man. Like that's definitely like a childhood like wish and a want that I would probably thoroughly enjoy is using the streets for things that the streets aren't meant for. You think about the people that are out here doing like the street takeovers. It's like
right.
a way tamer version of that.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like, let me get a golf cart out there and let me get a go-kart. Let me get a little couple scooters and then we'll just take over the street.
Yeah. Well, he was blasting through, the Broad Street bus lanes and, all the different, Carytown, all that good stuff. And a bunch of people said like, this man must be protected at all costs. If someone sees this, who knows this guy, please tell him to attach a flag on a tall pole to the back of the cart so it's visible to drivers even when they are close enough to not be able to see the cart itself. And yeah, I mean, it just fits in line with everything that we're saying.
Mm.
And funny enough, here's a picture of him. And I guess he's making friends with the police.
Who is that?
I mean, I don't think he's making friends.
I don't think he's making friends. Friendly, maybe.
Yeah. But yeah, and actually that looks like the Segway 9-bot go-kart, the one that I mentioned. It's actually pretty cool. It's like a go-kart that connects to, the Segway, it doesn't come all the way up. It has like the holster in between your knees. So basically it's almost like those little 2-wheeled little go-kart things, but it basically attaches to a full-size go-kart. And
okay. All right. Yeah.
They're pretty cool.
I'm looking at it now. I haven't seen this before, but
yeah.
Didn't the guy that owns Segway like run it off a cliff or something?
Maybe. Yeah.
I think he did. I think that's how he died.
Probably.
He like rode a Segway off a cliff.
I mean, dude, if you're going to do that, you might as well do it on your own invention, right?
Yeah.
Like if you're going to launch yourself off a cliff, it might as well be on like the go-kart that you built,
All right. So these look pretty sweet. And I'm looking at it. It's around $3,000 for one of these Segway Go-Kart Pro 2.
But if I'm going to spend $3,000 on a go-kart, I'm going to just spend the $9,000 to get the other one, the Go-Kart God one. That one is like,
Go-Kart.
It's like,
God.
Dude, it is like terrifyingly fast.
I've seen a couple of these like insanely like fast go-karts that have like, I've seen go-karts that have like Hayabusa motors on them. That's what I'm talking about.
That's insane. That is like actually insane.
Like 1,000 horsepower motorcycle motor on the back of a go-kart.
That's like another level. But the thing about the e-karts is like the torque is instant.
Yeah.
So they just take off so fast. I'll show you the video of this one that I'm talking about. And these people crush it, man. They probably make so much money on these things. Look at how fast this is.
Yeah. Jesus. Yeah, you mean you're easily like, one wrong clip, you're in the hospital.
Oh yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, those are cool. I want
They're
one.
very cool. Me too. Dude, so imagine we get a couple Vera House go-karts zipping
Say
around.
less.
I know.
Yeah.
And then you'll have to be on here solo and be like, yeah, Michael launched himself off the teapot bridge on accident.
Yeah. But, it'll be worth it because it'll be great content.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah.
You know, it'll be our, it'll be my sayonara. It's like, well, my podcasting career didn't last very long
Yeah.
because I bought a go-kart.
There are stupider ways to go.
Yeah. I mean, what else is there to do?
Did you hear that there were 40 cars broken into in Henrico?
No.
That's a lot of cars.
That's a lot of, was it by like one person or one group?
It was by a group. Think of like, when I hear a group and when I hear this many cars, I think of like crime syndicate.
Yeah.
But I also imagine that it's like 15 idiots that just break into cars on a regular basis. But between 4 and 8 a.m. on Wednesday, March 11th, officers with Henrico County Police Division responded to several calls for reported vehicle break-ins and vandalism. Let's see, the 400 block of International Center Drive, 9900 block of Mayland Drive, 11,000 block of West Broad Street, 12,000 block of West Broad Street, and the 200 block of the Tower Center West Boulevard. String of larcenies and vandalism may be tied to the same person or persons, police thought the investigation is ongoing. So that makes me think like, well, that's an organized effort for sure. But it doesn't surprise me in the slightest. If you've lived in Richmond long enough, and we might have even talked about this before, vandalism and theft of like vehicles is like, unfortunately, a common thing. This is a lot. Like this is up there.
Yeah.
I used to live around the corner from here on Grayland, and I was coming home from work one day, and I saw somebody like open or like check a car door that was locked, and then go to the next car and check that door that was locked, and then go to the car after that and open the door because it was unlocked, and they like climbed in it and like climbed in the back seat, and then just started hand over head throwing stuff like from the back of the trunk, like rifling through is what, how you would say it. And then they get out of the other side of the car, walk to the car behind it, check the door, walk to the car behind it, check the door. I'm like, well, okay, this is insane. I'm watching a crime. Crime's happening.
Yeah.
I'm seeing it. So I call 911. The cops show up and they said, give us the description of the guy. It was nighttime. It was like black guy wearing a black t-shirt. Super descriptive.
Right.
So the cop did come, but the lady on the phone was like, make sure you go inside so no one gets confused. She's like, all right, go inside. And they call me and say, we didn't find the guy. This happens pretty regularly. Our advice is to just keep your doors locked. And at the time I was living next to a friend of mine, and I told him the next day what had happened. And they had been there for years, and I'd only been there for maybe a few months. And he was like, yeah, nothing you can do about it. They're usually only looking for change. So just keep your doors locked. Yeah. Sure enough, anytime that I didn't lock my door, which was rare, but every now and then I would forget, I would get into my car and everything was there, including the valuable stuff that I often left in there, but all the change was gone. So it was homeless people looking for change.
Wow.
There wasn't anyone trying to steal the cars, or it wasn't anyone trying to steal anything valuable.
Interesting.
Because I'm a DJ. Occasionally I leave my headphones in there, maybe, some other valuable things, clothes or what have you. It was always all there.
Yeah.
They just wanted to change.
Well, I guess if you're actually homeless, like, what are you going to do with a pair of Ray-Bans? Like that doesn't do anything for you.
Exactly.
That's crazy.
And and this 40 cars on one night is like, you ever seen Gone in 60 Seconds?
Yeah, a long time ago. I did see that one.
That's what it makes me think of. It's like Nicolas Cage and a ragtag group of like retired car thieves have to like steal 100 cars to save his brother from getting murdered by a British mobster.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that was all in one, like a 24-hour period?
So this says between 4 and 8 a.m. on Wednesday, March 11th, officers responded to several calls for reported vehicle break-ins.
That's impressive.
So it must have happened.
40, that's
all night.
Crazy.
All in one night.
Henrico, man. Henrico. It's like
Henrico
not even
is
Richmond.
Yeah, Henrico's is the county.
I know.
You know,
Did you see their new logo drop? Did you see Henrico's new logo?
Whoa.
Look at that.
Super peaceful.
That's fancy.
Super swaggy.
I like the extra little feather they threw in there.
What's the feather for?
I don't know.
Is it because there's trees in Henrico and not in Richmond?
Someone made this one. They said, I nominate this one instead because everyone loves Comic Sans font and dream catchers.
Comic Sans font. Yes. Yes.
And I will say that's actually better, I think.
It's actually, but like, all right. So the feather on the first one is like, what's the feather for? My first thought was like Native Americans. And then the Comic Sans with the Dreamcatcher is definitely Native American vibe.
If we came full circle, it's like, oh, we removed the Native American from the diamond or whatever.
Yeah.
Only just to come back and Henrico slaps it on their logo. It's like, come on.
It's a nod to the Native Americans.
Yeah.
Like, you can kick rocks with all that.
Yeah. I can feel what was going on in the designer's head. It feels a little empty. Screw it. Let's throw a feather in there.
Yeah.
Somebody commented, bitches love feathers.
Oh, man.
It's crazy. My apologies. I'm just reading. Look, I'm just reading comments. Someone said, should have used papyrus. You ever seen the Ryan Gosling?
Yes.
Thing? Yeah.
Papyrus. That's what I was thinking about. Cause it's like Avatar, right? The papyrus font. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Someone says the feather represents the hen in Henrico.
I love when the internet takes it and runs with it.
Oh, dude.
It's so good.
Oh, man. Yeah. So, dude, Henrico, they're on one.
I mean, Henrico, I used to live in Henrico, and I will say it's a county. Yeah, but it was always kind of a combination of places. And in a microcosm, it is comparatively a lot like portions of downtown Richmond, right? I always find it fascinating that there is a lot of diversity and there's a lot of mixing of different cultures and different like types of people, types of communities. But there's also hard in the ground lines between those communities from time to time. Really good example is over where I live now I live on Broad Street, just past Scott's Addition. So past the Beltway Highway. And on Broad Street, it's just, mostly like car dealerships and a Krispy Kreme. There's not a lot going on.
Right.
But if you're going towards the river from where I am, I'm on Lafayette and Broad. 2 blocks down, pretty chill neighborhood, nice houses, one-story ranchers. Go across Monument, you're in Malvern Gardens and Westover Hills.
Yep.
The streets are twice as big and everyone drives a Land Rover. And if you're in Malvern Gardens, you're on River Road at that point. You take a left, you're 3 blocks from Carytown. And it's just, if you've ever driven down River Road after leaving Carytown, the neighborhoods could not be more different. And the people that live there cannot be more different.
Yeah.
But the proximity, it doesn't really click, but Richmond is geographically a small place. You have more money in that neighborhood than most of the entire state. And it's the wealthiest part of this part of Richmond. But 6 blocks away, you got dudes looking through my Jeep Cherokee for 50 cents. Yeah. And it just kind of blows my mind. And Henrico is a larger microcosm of that, right? So there's nice neighborhoods and nice subdivisions and nice school systems in Henrico that are right next to the ghetto.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
No, for sure. And I mean, suburbs, there's always part of the suburbs that's going to be low income and have a lot of the same elements that the city does. I guess with the city, the big difference is that you have faster access because it's a more condensed area, so it's like, you can kind of get around a little bit easier. And if you're really, really low income and you're homeless, like, you want to be in the city, because you can access whatever you need to in theory. Right. Yeah. But yeah, man, Henrico's on one, but you know who's on one, dude? We are.
Yeah. We are.
This is a new little, we threw these up in the back of the studio and I kind of love the look.
It makes us look, I feel like it looks like we're in like a cool, like our podcast, like, and I think I've heard this before. I don't know if you've heard this, but from the way that we have the wide shot angle and like the shots of us, it's kind of hard to tell what the studio really looks like and where it's located. So,
right.
it is in an undisclosed location at the moment. But now it looks like we're like a cool, swanky, like retail shop in Southern California.
It does look like that, dude. Yeah. It does. And yeah, so for anybody, if you're watching, obviously you can see what we're referring to. If you're not and you're just listening, we just dropped our first merchandise collection.
Sure did.
Yeah, people may have seen it like here and there kind of discreetly, like whether it's you wearing a tee or me wearing a hoodie or vice versa. It's a small limited run of hoodies and tees, all built around the idea of having something comfortable that you can wear every day. And for us, that's inside and outside of the studio. And like, yeah, it's like our go-to clothing item. I wear the hoodie all day at my house. I
was surprised at how often I wanted to wear the t-shirt more than I wanted to wear pretty much anything else.
Yeah.
And I have another shirt by the same company that makes the t-shirts that we print on. And it was also my favorite shirt.
Yeah.
It's just ever so slightly like thicker and a little bit heavier. And the heavyweight articles of clothing make you feel good and they feel structured. I've washed it a few times. It didn't shrink. That is my biggest pet peeve with like designer clothing or from small batch streetwear brands is if you wash it, it ruins the shirt, messes up the print, or it shrinks. None of that happened.
Yeah. No, everything has that kind of oversized, trendy, cool, kind of comfortable heavyweight feel. And it's designed to actually be worn and hold its shape over time, just like you said. Everything is made from 100% organic cotton. This collection is modern, durable, and meant to be worn often. So we did not make these as like cheap little $15 shirts to make money. Like that's not what it's about. We wanted to make something for ourselves that we really loved, that we really enjoyed, that represented like something that we felt meant a lot to us. And there's a reason that these hoodies don't say Vera House, right? Like we labeled it Vera Creative Club because like we are creatives. We were just talking about this yesterday, like the archetype of a creative person. You know what I mean? So these aren't branded as Vera House. The idea is you don't have to feel like you're repping somebody else's brand, right? We want you to feel like this is kind of a Richmond-based brand. That's what we did it for. And genuinely, we made these for us in a way that the quality was what we wanted and it represented what we wanted. So if you're somebody who's been following what we've been building with Vera House, this is just an extension of that. And if you want to support the show, you can check everything out through our Instagram or at verahouse.co. So in the same vein, we are now known as the City of Darkness. Did you know that? Richmond, the City of Darkness. Yeah. I kind of like it.
What's up with that? I mean, it sounds cool, but I'm also guessing that there's some sketch behind it.
Yeah. Well, I think, earlier we had mentioned that I think it was one of the reporters or journalists that works for RVA Mag that was zipping around in the go-kart.
Yeah.
Well, they had posted this thing titling, saying Richmond earns City of Darkness Award over FOIA concerns. And so for anybody who doesn't know what FOIA is, it's the Freedom of Information Act. And basically the Freedom of Information Act states that, when you want to request public documentation from the government, you can submit a request and they provide you with that information. So let's say something that you're wanting to know, whether it's like, oh, how many people did XYZ or like whatever, the government is required to answer your questions because they are public servants, right? We are the boss. They are our employees. It's kind of how it works. We pay them an insane amount of money, right? So it's the government. Anyway, what this says is, as Sunshine Week wrapped up, Richmond picked up a distinction that's less celebration and more indictment. The city was named a 2026 recipient of the City of Darkness Award. Part of the Foilies, an annual project from the Electronic Frontier Foundation and Muck Rock that calls out the worst offenders when it comes to government transparency. These are released each year during Sunshine Week, a national initiative focused on open government. The project is designed to highlight, often with a bit of dry humor, the agencies and officials that thwart the public's right to know through excessive redactions, delays, or outright obstruction of public record requests. This year, Richmond made the list. And so, yeah, there's a lot of different things that Richmond has done, kind of recently. where they are obstructing things. Even going back to the water crisis with the whole EPA thing and how they just completely lied about it. At the center of the criticism is the city's newly created FOIA library, a system that on paper looks like a move towards greater public access, but it has actually raised concerns about who controls that access and how much of it the public will actually be able to see. Richmond opted against a plan that would have published all eligible public records released under Virginia's Freedom of Information Act. Instead, the city council backed an alternative proposal from the mayor's office that gives the administration authority to decide which records make it into the library. The same officials who may be the subject of those records are also responsible for determining who sees those records. And there's so much stuff. Like Richmond is also in the middle of an ongoing legal battle involving former city FOIA officer Connie Clay, which we've talked about this on the podcast before. She alleged that she was fired for trying to advocate for the city to better comply with the public records law. So when she worked for the city and brought up the point of like, hey, we have all these FOIA requests, like we really need to be fulfilling these, and we're kind of like falling into a gray area, we're not complying, they fired her. So it's like, wonder what that's about. You have somebody that works for the city trying to do this,
Sounds dark.
Yeah. So they tried to block her from filing her own FOIA request. And then so she requested it, and then it led to her termination. And then the city attempted to secure a gag order limiting her ability to speak publicly about the case. The financial cost is already significant. So rather than settling the dispute for $250,000, the city has spent more than $633,000 in taxpayer funds on legal fees to shut her up. So they could have just paid her $250,000 to settle the case and admitted wrongdoing, but they didn't do that. Now they've paid 3 times that to try to keep her quiet. So the trial and the rollout of the FOIA library are expected to play out this summer. So basically, it gets into all this stuff about how government is now using technology and future advancement for safety and protection to really like obfuscate and hide things.
What are they hiding?
I mean, who knows?
I want to know.
Who knows, dude?
I think
there's like $10 million missing from the city budget. So it's like, where'd that go? And if we look at a
little bit of change.
Yeah. And it's like, if we look at any other city or anything else, it's like, well, when there's missing money, you end up finding out that it's going to all this crazy stuff, right? Like in California, there was like $50 billion that went to like all this fraud around like government grants. They're just giving away money to like fraudulent applicants for things. Whatever it is, right? You look at the stuff that was going on in Minnesota, where you have these fake daycare companies that were receiving tens of millions of dollars in grants for businesses that aren't real. And that's all taxpayer money. So it's like, I'm not saying that type of stuff is going on in Richmond, but it's like, where'd the money go?
Yeah.
Where's it at?
Yeah.
And it's like, and if people are requesting records, like, hey, where's the record of this? Where's the financial statements? And they're like, oh, well, we can't answer that. It's an indicator of like, what's up with that?
I used to be blissfully unaware of all of this.
Yeah.
Until I met you.
Yeah. I mean, and I wish I could go back, dude. I wish I didn't know any of this shit or even care about it or look into it.
Because now it's not that, when you learn about it, it's like, oh yeah, I'm educating myself. It's like, well, the more you learn about it, the more it informs the other opinion or the other point of view, which it doesn't make you feel good to be like super skeptical and distrusting of the people that run the place that you live. It's like, come on, guys, we're doing this together. We were supposed to do this as a team.
Yeah,
we're supposed to be on the same side.
Yeah,
I like the lake. You like the lake. You want to pay for the water. I want to use the water. It should be very simple, but for some reason, and I would assume, I'm going to go out on a little tangent here, but corruption is human nature. Dishonesty is human nature. Aggression and complication is human nature. As despite our best abilities to be noble and forthright and to be righteous, so to speak, to be like, I'm going to fight the good fight. Even those people have crossroads that they have to come across and make a decision that leads them down a path where they end up doing something nefarious. I don't know. If you're not watching the live version of this, I got my hands up in the question mark pose, if you will.
Yeah.
I don't know, dude. I don't know what the answer is.
I don't know either, but I will say it's super interesting when you look at like the average psychological profile of people that are interested in pursuing politics, and they often
They're all
are
psychopaths.
Well, they are people. I didn't say it. You said it, but but I mean, of course, it's not all people. Some people genuinely do it for the love of the game and they want to serve the people and they want to do good and they want to make change. And I think, it's a little bit naive to think that like, oh, everybody that wants to get into civil service and being a public servant, working for the government, working for the city or the town, everybody's like that, because they're not, dude. A lot of people, they get a high from control and power and coming up with legislation and telling people what to do and, being the person that everybody reports to. And I can't blame them, right? It's like at the end, at the core of our being is a deep desire to be recognized, to be listened to be heard, to be validated, for people to say, wow, that's an amazing idea. Thank you for doing this for us. And it just so happens that most government bureaucracy kind of lays out a roadmap for you to become that person, where, you start at the bottom and maybe you work at City Hall and you work your way up and whatever, right? Like surely some of these people don't do it for the money. You look at these people and many of them had very well high paying careers before going into politics. And I'm not going to name names, but there are people in Richmond who they had a very high paying career prior and then they move into government. And it's like, okay, so it's not for money. Then right. So then it's like, what is it for then?
Sorry, I stole my throat.
Yes. And it's for the gold foiled plates and it's for the ceremonies and it's for the applause and it's for, it's for the attention. And maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm totally off base and maybe I'm painting something the wrong color and I'm wrong. And I've got it pinned incorrectly.
It's cool. I'll just call the cops.
Yeah, exactly. But I do think that, it's like, there's a reason that, there's shows like House of Cards and the other one that you mentioned. Yes. There's a reason that these shows exist. And it's because, they're not making up of, a fake trope that isn't real. It's like, it is real. And people fight for power, man. And it's like, what's more valuable than money? And it's connections, network, power, control, access, and I've said this for literally over a decade. Like, when you're rich, everything is free. So it's like, especially when you're rich, not just monetarily, but through who you know and who knows you and what you have access to and the strings you can pull, the world is yours. The world is yours. And it's like, sometimes you got nothing better to do. So you're like, you know what? I think I am going to pursue that.
Yeah.
And Vera House for mayor, I guess.
Vera House for city council. How about that?
Yeah.
Let's start there.
Yeah, let's start with our driving school and see how that goes.
I'm actually really pumped on this driving school and our potential parallel parking championship.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it'll be, who knows, it might be a bit of a shit show,
That's entirely the point. I think at this point, people that watch the show, people that listen to the show, they kind of know what to expect. Let's throw them a curveball.
Yeah.
Switch it up.
Yeah. Yeah.
Keep them on the toes.
We'll show up on the next episode in suit and tie and start going through our proposed bills.
Yeah.
And also the rules for the parallel parking championship.
Yes. Look. Hear me out. This could be a really positive event, positive influence for the community, a way for the community to unite on a common issue, to share knowledge with each other, and to learn how to treat your neighbor better by not scuffing their bumper when you have to go to the daily.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think we would improve the parking skills in the city by at least 13%.
At least. Yes.
Yeah, we got to make it competitive. We got to make it good.
We're going to make it competitive. We're also going to make it very entertaining.
Definitely. Pop quiz. What is this random building in Richmond, do you think, if you had to guess?
Let me see that. It looks like DMV, but
it does.
I don't think it is.
It's not.
Manchester. I don't know.
So here are the guesses. I think it's a fart factory.
It's insane.
No, it's a vape shop.
Someone said, nicest vape shop I've ever seen.
With a tattoo studio around the back?
Yep.
Yes, it's by appointment only, but if you don't have an appointment, you can play the illegal slot machines. It's a vacant office building in a sea of asphalt that should be torn down and replaced with a grocery store and a bunch of homes. Edit. Forgot to mention that, yes, this was a former fart factory per comments below. My bad. It's a 4/1 boxy apartment. Best offer. No grocery store. 4 grocery stores over 1 apartment and you got yourself a goddamn deal. So the answer of somebody else said, that will be the next Spirit Halloween store.
Yes. Yes, it will.
Someone said, I freelance fart and can confirm I've done work in this building.
Just Jesus.
Like, dude, it's like, people are just so funny, man. Okay. So what it actually was a freight factory, I believe. So overnight UPS freight, T-Force freight. It was like a big freight office. Mm-hmm. T-Force was the last owner. It was a building built in the 1970s by Overnight Transportation. The company founder sold the trucking company to Union Pacific for over $1 billion in 1986.
Dang, that's a lot of money now.
Yeah. The founder, J. Harwood Cochran, died at 103 years old.
Woo.
And he was a billionaire.
Dang.
From selling the company to Union Pacific in $1 billion in 1986.
That's a lot of cash.
Bro. Yeah, I couldn't help but laugh at this because like some random person just gave this fart factory answer and everybody just ran with it.
Yeah.
And someone's like, actually, I freelance fart and I can confirm that I worked there.
You know what this reminds me of?
What?
Have you ever heard of Azalea Mall?
I don't think so.
That's funny. Because I used to go there when I was a kid. So on Azalea Avenue in Henrico, I guess maybe it's still technically Richmond City, but it's like Chamberlain Avenue and Azalea and Brook Road. There's like a shopping district over there. And there used to be like a shopping center, but it was also an indoor shopping mall in the 80s and in the early 90s. And I used to go there when I was a kid. And there was a movie theater there. There were all these shops. There's back when like malls were everywhere. And it eventually shut down, closed. They demolished the mall, but they left the empty parking lot. And this kind of reminds me of that. That was in 1999. It's still an empty parking lot today.
That's crazy.
Yes, it's been an empty parking lot it's been an empty parking lot longer than it's been a mall.
Yeah, so over 2 decades, like 2.5 decades. That's crazy.
So just a quick little Google search is the first enclosed shopping mall located at Brook Road and Azalea Avenue, which opened in 1963 and was demolished in 1999. And if you look at the pictures of it, it looks pretty cool, right? Like, look at this. That's not it, but this is what it looked like on the inside.
Wow.
Like, it's like super 80s retro. Big plot of land. Obviously, you know, they don't want you to watch it or look at it for free. But yeah, like in like the peak, and I remember a lot of these places in Richmond, like the 6th Street Marketplace, which was a big shopping district. Broad Street, that area of Broad Street was a big shopping district. So places like this were all over the place. And for the longest time, I would drive by and see the empty lot and wonder what's going to go there. Is it going to be an apartment? Is it going to be another shopping center? Is it going to be another movie theater? Is it going to be an IKEA? What? Who knows? And to this day, it's still a mystery. Nobody knows what's going on. Nobody knows what's going to be built there. There haven't been any developments. There haven't been any publicly released statements by developers coming in to buy the land. I don't know if the city owns it. I think they probably still do. But put it on the list of things that could probably fall under this city of darkness. No one has any idea what's going on with the 6th Street Marketplace, Navy Hill, the Coliseum, or Azalea Mall. If you do know, please message us.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I love the retro architecture and like that whole vibe. And yeah, it's a bygone era, and it's cool to look at, but it's also like kind of a bummer to look at too, because it's like, yeah, we'll likely never see anything like that again in our lifetime. It is very cool though. When I think of these retro buildings, did you see that the Greyhound bus station on Boulevard was sold?
I did.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's been there forever. Literally forever. I've taken a Greyhound bus from there only a couple times, but, that's like a staple of the Boulevard.
It is.
And yeah, it's sold to a developer for $15 million.
And it's going to be apartment buildings.
Yeah, pretty sure. Yeah.
Is that the new like mock-up of it?
That's a rendering. Yeah. So, who knows
cool.
if that's exactly what it'll look like, but sure enough, apartment buildings. And maybe it's just me, dude, but it kind of irks me when people put all these nice apartments together and none of them have balconies.
Yeah.
What is the deal with that, dude?
They do like the mini balcony thing where it's like, here's your 600 square foot unit and here's 12 feet of a balcony.
Yeah. If that, like in these, you can see where maybe what you would consider like a penthouse is allegedly going to have these big open air balconies, which that looks sick.
Mm-hmm.
But it just doesn't make sense to me. You go to every other big city and it's like, if you're paying $2,000, $3,000 plus for an apartment, I better have a balcony, dude.
Yeah. A nice balcony.
Yeah.
With plenty of space.
Yeah. It's like, yeah. It's insane.
It's new. Like these apartment buildings, this design language, this style of apartment, it's all new for Richmond.
Mm-hmm.
So the developers are experimenting, but just as well as I do that if you're on the fringe, you're less likely to sell it.
Yeah.
Because you're too early. Now, that doesn't mean you're wrong. It doesn't mean that people don't like it. It just it's not popular now. And if your goal is to make your money back after you invested $15 million in buying the property and then another $30 million in developing and building the apartment complex, you have to sell the units. And if you have massive balconies on small apartments that look like it should belong in a Disney World, like rodeo or something like that, then yeah, maybe you'll get some eccentric people that are willing to like be the first people to rent as tenants, but everybody else is like, no, I'm just going to live in Scott's Addition.
Right.
I'm
yeah. Good. Yeah. And it's funny because like the title here, it says, eyesore, former Greyhound station on Arthur Ashe Boulevard sold to developer for $15 million. And of course people are like, eyesore? You mean the bus station that many of us used and is now closed down to build unaffordable apartments? It's like exactly what we're talking about, right? And someone said, eyesore is a wild choice of wording here. And someone said, nice. I hope it's another store that sells diamonds and rare gems or bars of gold or really anything that will push undesirables on people that don't look like me and have no Bitcoin.
Yeah. I mean, forgiving the grammar and, his choice of words, that's super accurate.
Yeah.
Like my apartment building is one of the older buildings, but it's still relatively new. It's like 4 years old.
Yeah.
5 years old, I guess, at this point. And among the trends, the first floor of my building has like retail space on it. And there's like a yoga studio, there's an indoor golf studio, there's a gym, there's a hair salon. But to his point, there's a jewelry store at the end of the block that does sell diamonds and gold. And then there's a wedding dress shop. A wedding dress shop. Myke, it blows my mind. I don't know what these apartments are going for.
Yeah.
They're not the most expensive, which is like to my benefit. And I hope they don't listen to this because I don't want them to raise my rent. It's relatively affordable, all things considered.
Yeah.
I have a lot of space. The building is nice. It's updated, it's renovated, it's always kept clean.
And you're still like just right there in Scott's to where it's like still like perfect location.
It's perfect. I don't have to deal with Scott's traffic, but I'm not so far that I'm at Willow Lawn. Right. And when I'm coming in and out, I see the people that live there like, who the frick lives here that can afford a $30,000 wedding dress?
Right.
Or a $250,000 tennis bracelet. I just don't understand. And I look at the guy that like is like, had opened the jewelry shop within the last year, and he's like, putting out his displays, and he's got like these nice kind of displays, and the shop looks nice. I'm like, who the F is rolling up to this apartment complex to buy a diamond ring from you?
Yeah. It doesn't, I mean, yeah, I agree. It doesn't check out to me. And obviously we've hung out plenty, and I've drove over there, and I mean, I never see anybody in these stores, you know? And then of course my brain is like money laundering, you know, immediately I'm like, they're laundering money. Must be the case, right? It's like all the mattress stores and whatever, right?
Yeah.
Who knows what's going on, dude? Who knows? You know, and people may not know this, but like over 90% of all businesses fail within 10 years, you know? And so many times you might be driving down the road looking at a strip mall, and it's like, how does this business survive? And the truthful answer is they don't.
Yeah.
They don't, you know, sadly. And yeah, sometimes people just got to learn, you know, but who knows why? It may be a high-end jewelry store, but maybe it's a commercial lease that they can afford. So they just take what they can get and wing it and see what happens. You know, who knows?
And I get that. And like, you know, the other side of this coin is like the entrepreneurial spirit, right? I was driving down Boulevard. I don't remember the name of the complex, but it's the new one right across from River City Tattoo on Boulevard.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And the whole first floor is all retail, but it's all for lease now. There's nothing in there yet. I think there's maybe like a restaurant that's going to open up or whatever. But it does make you think as business owners, like, light bulb, retail space, because retail space is hard to come by, and especially in Richmond, a lot of them are already occupied, or they're like, you know, just insanely expensive. And these buildings are like building more. So trying to see it as a glass half full. Yes, maybe they don't look as appealing aesthetically as compared to the old skyline. Things change, things evolve, things grow, and that's exactly what's happening. Now, is it happening too fast? Debatable. Is it uncomfortable? Yes. Change is always a little uncomfortable. Does the CarMax Park look like a Lego block? Yes, it does. But is it really cool? From the pictures that I've seen, it looks pretty freaking cool.
I've heard that people really liked it, actually. Okay. And I heard that it wasn't super expensive. People were happy with the prices. I've only heard good things so far. Same. So that's nice to hear.
So it's you know, and this is as a Richmonder, and I know that this is a thing that longtime residents of the city don't like change, because for better or for worse, Richmond is like a little Goldilocks place. It has all the things you want in a big city in a small package. It's relatively affordable, and it stays like that. It's easy to traverse back and forth. You have everything you want and need at arm's distance or arm's reach. So when things change, it's like, don't mess it up. It's so good.
Yeah.
I've been to New York. New York sucks. I've been to California. California sucks. Richmond is cool, man. Don't mess it up. But it's also old, and it's really, really outdated.
Yeah.
And all the things that are happening now have happened to other cities decades ago. And it's now commonplace there for these things to exist. This is just our turn.
Yeah. Richmond is very cool. And it's probably a good opportunity to tell everybody, anyone who came and joined us and ran the Monument 10K, thanks for being a part of it. That's a great example of like a cool Richmond staple, something that has been around for a long time, that is growing but hasn't really changed. But our participation in it this year is something that, you know, obviously we've never done before. We weren't around for it last year.
Yep.
Obviously we're new, but our goal is to be involved in the community, do fun social stuff. And so throughout April and May, depending on when you're listening to this episode, obviously if you participated in the Monument 10K with us, thank you. We appreciate you. We hope you had a fun time. We hope you got a little bit of a workout. We've also got the soft opening of Pyre Sauna coming up. And we've got Rest Fest on May 9th.
Yeah.
So we're going to be at all these fun things, and it's a blast. And so thanks everybody for your support. If you want to find another way to support us, don't forget, we now have this merch here. And I'll give you
beautiful merch.
Give you a glance at it. And so you can get this straight through our Instagram or also at verahouse.co.
Look at that quality. It's so crispy. I love it. This podcast was recorded at Vera House Studios in Richmond, Virginia, and produced by Perri Young and Myke Metzger.